Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Cartalicchio. I want to welcome you to another segment of the Destination Health Podcast, Finding Function in a Dysfunctional World. And let me tell you something. I'm really excited today to interview Lori Fetrick, Ice, from American Gladiators. Oh, boy. She said, yes, I love this. This is great. Lori, welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much. Honor and a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
And how's everything going today?
Everything is great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this is going to be a great conversation. As everybody knows, you're Ice. You joined in 1990, right? It was season number 2. And you were athletic all of your life, volleyball, softball, basketball in high school. Then you got into weightlifting right after that, and you won some shows. You're an NPC competitor. My partner, Franco, is a judge in Florida for there. And you've been on TV all the time, right? And it started out with the American Gladiators. How the heck did you get on the American? I'm sure you get this all the time.
You just read my entire bio. I mean, what's the point of doing that?
Right there, it's done. It's over. All right.
It's done.
All right, Lori. All right, Ice. It's done. All right. So tell me, American Gladiators, what was this and how did you get involved in this?
American Gladiators, basically, like you said, I was an athlete my entire life. And so when I got out of high school, I tried to go to college and play ball and do everything like that. Didn't work. So I had to actually quit college and go to work. So I was probably early 20s, 21, 22, started working a 9-to-5 job. And I went, oh my God, I've got to do something, because being an athlete, you just can't, it's hard to just quit. As you know, I had so much energy. So I just basically started going to the gym at lunchtime, and then I switched gyms and went to another gym, and somebody said, wow, you've got the genetics to be a bodybuilder. So I kind of started down that path,
Right.
And was a bodybuilder. And then when the show, the American Gladiators tryouts kind of like show, and they were looking for a gladiator, I went and tried out, and lo and behold, how many years later?
Let me tell you something. I watched that show religiously every single week. It was great. You guys had the best cast. All right. Yeah. Back then, you guys really had the best cast. So
we did.
American Gladiator. And how many seasons were you on? It was on and off. Wasn't it on and off?
No, it wasn't on and off. I missed the first 13 episodes because obviously that was, I didn't even know about it back then. And that's when, I kind of found out and I tried out. I came in the second season. I want to say I did almost 8 seasons. I missed, let's say season 7, because that's when a bunch of us gladiators held out because we wanted more money and we wanted more we wanted some merchandising rights.
You wanted those fees, right? Okay, let's get into that. What happened at that point? Because you guys were before we got on, everybody, we were talking about nitro and laser. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Well,
so what happened?
Basically how that transpired and how it happened was we were doing the show. The show was doing great. We started getting more and more popular. And then they put us on the tour that went around, to all the cities in the United States. We toured for 6 months. And we were selling out arenas. We were selling out Madison Square Gardens. We were selling out Nassau Coliseum. So when we came back from the tour, we were like, holy shit, we're big, And we're like, we're not. And all of a sudden, all these things started coming out: toys, lunch boxes,
everything.
Right. And we looked at our contract and we're like, we're not getting a dime for any of this stuff. So we thought that was unfair, and we weren't looking for the huge honey pot. We were just looking for, give us a little tiny piece. We'll be happy.
Give us a little something for right. Our time, because this is us right now, right?
Right, sure. Exactly. So let's put it this way. The problem was there's 10 gladiators, and there was only maybe a handful of us, which was Nitro, Gemini, myself, and who else? It might've been Ray Hollett. I'm not quite sure. If we would have had the entire team, all 10 of them, that said, absolutely, we're not filming until we get a piece of this, we would have probably gotten what we wanted. But the problem was there was only 3 to 4 of us out of 10.
So
And
not everybody was on board with this.
no, because they were so brainwashed and they were so afraid of, oh my God, what if this doesn't happen and we lose our jobs and this is my income? And, a gladiator, it became their identity is really what happened. It became their identity. And, sometimes you got to take a chance in life. If you need something or want something, you got to
Oh,
stand up.
Lori, yeah, sure. You have to stand up for yourself.
And the rest of the gladiators were so afraid because they put the fear of God in them that they didn't do it. And so therefore that was the problem. We held out, we got fired because there was only 3 of us at that point in time at the very end. And the rest went on. And that is the season that they lost a shit ton of ratings. And, I always said this, and every gladiator stands behind this as well. They tried to convince us and convince people that the show was the star. The gladiators weren't the star. Well, our comeback to that is, okay, you watched Friends and you had your favorites. You had Ross, you had Rachel, you had Monica. That's why people tuned in to watch Friends. They had their favorites. They didn't tune in just to watch the show. Because if they would have replaced all those,
right,
people would have stopped watching it. They'd have been like, what the fuck? Where is this? So that's why when they convinced us that, or not convinced us or tried to, the show is a star. You're not the star. And
it was the individuals, because I can tell you for myself and for all of my friends, we were watching because there were favorites. I mean, listen,
100%.
Not for anything. You're coming out of the 80s. It was a decade where there was money and you were, looking good. And so here you are as Ice, and then you have Nitro and you have Gemini, and you're looking at them. I mean, this is not only me. It was like, wow, Nitro and Gemini, they're good looking guys. They got great physiques, right? Oh, look at Ice. She's beautiful, right? And it's like, wow. Can I get your phone number and can I take you out on a date type of a situation, right? And the girls, the same thing. I mean, it was one of those situations where the appeal was that sex appeal, if you will, really nice looking individuals, and it was an action show. And so during the 80s, Stallone and Schwarzenegger and all of that action stuff, right, was
people
all
were loving it. Yes.
How could you not watch Rambo a million times? How could you not watch Predator a million times? Whether or not it was great dialogue, it didn't make any difference. It didn't make any difference. It moved, and we were all into that. 100%.
So
to me, you guys were kind of an extension of that. Did you feel that way?
Well, yes. And I mean, we were in that era, of everything happening. And like, I just watched the ESPN documentary, part 1 and part 2. Part 2 was last night. And in part 1, the creator was like, well, they felt like they were the stars of the show, and, and they should have been happy with what they got because they signed the contract. Well, we could have put a mask on them and we'll just trade them out. I mean, that's how they thought of us, as we were just, completely dispensable, like no big deal. But like you said, when the action like Rambo and Schwarzenegger and all that, I mean, that's what people were watching, and they were watching the characters. They just weren't like, oh, there's another person and they're acting like Rambo. No, people got attached to Ice. People got attached to Nitro and Gemini. They got attached and they watched them and they loved that. So yes, we were on that train of that action, like
that whole genre that was in there. It was the personality.
100%.
It was that personality that you brought as Ice to the program. Because I'm going to be honest, because when there were others that were on, and I'm not going to mention who, I wasn't interested. I wasn't interested in it. I wasn't interested. I would watch it because you're sitting there, but that was the time to go up and get a little something to drink. That was the time to take a break, a restroom break. When is Ice? When is Nitro? When is Gemini coming on? I want to see what you were going to do. What was your favorite event?
Powerball.
Tell me.
Powerball all day long. Oh yeah, I got to tackle. I mean, every clip there is of me out there, it's always me. Like I'm like, just like horizontal to the ground, and I have my arms wrapped around a chick and just bam, bringing her down. I mean, that was like the best part of it. Powerball was my favorite of all of them. I loved it.
All right. That was a little break to go back to what we were talking about now. Now, the three of you were released, or the four of you were released at that
Yeah,
time?
they let us go. They literally let us go.
Because I remember after all of you
There was
left,
like 4 of them. I think 4 of us.
it was Nitro, Gemini. Was it Laser who left?
Laser didn't leave.
Laser didn't leave.
No, it might have been, I mean, God, so many years ago, I should know this. Myself, Gemini, Nitro. It could have been Zap. I don't know. I'm not quite sure at that point in time who left with us.
Because I remember we lost interest in the show after all of you left.
Exactly. And that's when the ratings started going down. And then of course they blamed it on something else, just like human nature. They always do. They blame it on something else. When you look at something, you go, no, this is the reason why it happened. Coincidence? I don't think so.
No, because again, I'm looking at you when you're Ice and I'm saying, oh, right. And I'm looking at Nitro and I'm saying, guys wanted that physique so they can ask somebody like you out on a date. That's the way
Right.
it was, right?
Exactly.
Seriously, that's the way
Yeah.
it was. So
Right.
who is your best buds on the show?
It was kind of hard to say because of the fact that, we did so many things all together. I truly enjoyed, I love doing, like, let's say personal appearances with Laser. He was my go-to guy. Nitro and I at the time, I can't say we were that close because we always said that it was the Nitro show.
All right, hold on. That's going to open up a whole bunch of questions here. All right, we'll get into that in a second. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. But as far as the women are concerned, I mean, the women were very competitive with one another. There's no doubt.
That's what I'm getting at. Was this harmony, or was it like, oh no, I'm number one? That could be healthy though, Lori.
We all had type A personalities.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people believe in the astrological signs or not, but here's the interesting thing. 4 out of 5 women on that team, we were all Aries. So it's just that fire sign to where it's like, no, me, me, kind of thing. And so it was a constant kind of competition between the women, who wanted more airtime. I mean, we kind of fought over who was going to get what events, because the more airtime, the more popular, kind of thing. So we fought over that kind of stuff, just bickering backstage. But at the same time,
it's all good. It's all about competition.
100%.
And the cream rises to the top, and you do your best out there. That's why I was watching the show. I mean, come on.
Exactly. So when we talk about it and we laugh about, the Nitro show, I look back now on.
So tell me, why did he call it the Nitro show?
He didn't call it the Nitro show. We did, because of the
got it.
He somehow always was there. Nitro was always in everybody's business. It's like, if there was a personal appearances or anything like that, Nitro was always at the forefront. We don't know. I mean, he was always, kind of in the back pocket of the producers and everything else. And I even to this day tease the shit out of him because of the fact that our Netflix documentary is coming up. And yes, he's one of the producers on it because he decided to pitch the documentary to Netflix. And we're all super grateful of that. But at the same time, like when the trailer is coming out and the promo pictures, like my text message is going off constantly with all the group, our group on here. And he's like, look at this, look at that. And I go like this. Wow. Perks of being a producer, because you're in every single shot.
That's right. That's right. So he said, I'm going to parlay this into some cash at this point.
Yeah, so
and I'm going to do
we were
this.
laughing about that, but even the guys are like, oh yeah, it's always the Nitro show, but it is what it is. And it's kind of funny. He and I have gotten closer over time.
So initially you and Nitro, little friction here and there, or was it?
Not too much friction. It was just, he was so cocky and arrogant back in that day. Oh my God. I would look at him and just laugh, and just go, you are so full of yourself,
You know
and
what? I have to ask him on the podcast now.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'm going to ask him to come on the
He'll
podcast.
be a great guest for you as well. And he'll be sitting back like this going, well, Dan, we're just like, shut up, Dan. Shut up,
Because he's
Nitro.
Dan also, right? Dan and
Yeah,
Dan.
he's
That's
Dan
going to
also,
be
Dan
funny.
Clark.
All right. When we're
Yeah.
done here, you're going to have to give me some contact
Got
info
it.
because I think I'm going to do an American Gladiator tour leading up to the Netflix. So tell me, what's going on with Netflix? What's all of this about? What's the documentary?
What happened was, and we're going to go into the documentary real quick, and I'll kind of make it a little fast for you. But we got a call from the creator, Johnny Ferraro, probably about 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, and said, hey, they're doing a documentary about me, and I'd love you to be on it. And by the way, there's no pay. And I just kind of went, yeah, no. Because we were the most underpaid show on the air. We never got any merchandising points, and everybody got wealthy around us except us. And we were the ones, getting the ACL tears, breaking bones. We were the ones putting our bodies at risk, but yet we got nothing. And yet at 30 years later, you want to use us again for you to line your pockets and us to get nothing. And that's when I pulled the team together, and I was just like, and I was the one who seriously did this and went, do you guys really want to do this? I go, first of all, we don't know. First of all, nobody cares about Johnny Ferraro because nobody knows who he is.
Who is he? Right.
Who cares about the creator? He's a creator.
Right. I want to see you on the show. I want
Right.
to see Nitro. I want to see Gemini on the show.
Well, and we also knew the documentary was going to be about the Gladiators, not about him. And he promised the Gladiators to someone, and he could
Right.
get them free, kind of thing. And so I pulled the team, and I was like, look, we don't know where this is going to go. What if it landed on Netflix and it showed to the entire world, millions of viewers, and everybody's lining their pockets, and you're sitting on the couch and you can't pay your rent? How are you going to feel about that again?
Yeah,
so
sure.
everybody's like, you're right, Lori. We'll do the sizzle reel. And when it comes to, selling the show, we're not going to do it unless we negotiate money. Well, we did a couple interviews with a bunch of gladiators for this particular production company, which was Vice. And then we didn't hear from them for almost 6 months. And in that 6-month period, that's where Dan Clark, Nitro, was pitching another documentary to Netflix. Well, they came through. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, Netflix is going to pick up a documentary. We're like, oh, and then within like a week, and I kid you not, it was all within 1 week, the other first production company came back and said, hey, we sold it to ESPN and it's going to be a 30 for 30. So again, I was like, well, wait a minute. ESPN is United States only, and Netflix is worldwide, and Netflix is doing a 5-part series versus 1. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. And besides, I don't want to do anything with Johnny Ferraro. And that was a creator. So the team got split. And I don't even want to say really the team got split. 3/4 of the team went to Netflix, and just a small percentage, like maybe 3 or 4 gladiators, went to ESPN. So ESPN at that point in time realized, oh my God, we don't have a show because we don't have the other gladiators. So they made the show solely around Johnny Ferraro, the creator, and they did a really good job, Dan. And I'm going to say that because of the fact that it exposed Johnny Ferraro big time of what it
really,
how selfish he was. And he literally stole the idea. I did not know that Johnny Ferraro did not have the name when he came in. He stole the name from Dan Carr. Dan Carr had this name when he met Johnny, and it was the American Gladiators. So it's like, it just blew my mind, and it really exposed Johnny Ferraro on how he completely stole the idea from Dan Carr, completely pushed him out of the picture. Johnny got very wealthy. Dan was poor, living in Florida in a trailer park, watching all this happen. So needless to say, there's no love lost between me and Johnny. So it's kind of sad how it all happened, but at the same time, that's how the team got separated. And on part 1 of ESPN, Johnny talks shit about me, and I think it's funny. because I was actually in part one at ESPN more than I actually thought I was going to be, even though I wasn't in there as an interviewee, you know?
Right.
So, you know,
Too bad, too bad, because this is a show that could have lasted through the decades, I think. And I think that individuals would like these types of shows. I mean, to me, it was like a forever type of a show. And too bad it wasn't able to a situation where it wasn't able,
okay, so
to
I'm going to comment on that one because of the fact that I was just talking to my girlfriend this morning about that. After watching the ESPN with Johnny, I believe in karma. I believe in good faith. I believe in you get what you put out. Okay. Johnny from day one, stealing the idea, never actually involving Dan Carr, never giving him a piece of it. He got his karma, meaning that he sold his soul. And that basically, he said it in the ESPN doc, I sold my soul just to sell the show. So it's like, he didn't understand why people didn't like him. First of all, he never respected any of us. So how can we respect him if he didn't respect us? It goes mutual. And the whole karma thing. I truly believe you're absolutely right. A show like this should have went on and actually made more and did more. And I think it would have if Johnny were out there doing more for people, helping people, giving to people. Here, let me help you. What can we do to make this show? We are a family. We're a unit here. Let's all come together and figure out how we can make this show last 10, 15 years rather than just maybe 7 or 8 seasons.
Right.
But because he was so selfish and so greedy and money hungry that he never involved anyone else, it was me, 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 me. It just doesn't work then after that.
Because I envision like, at one point in time, everybody's got to retire when it's that physical, right? And then you all come back for a for a Powerball every now and again. It's kind of like the reunion tour, right? And then all of you take over as the announcers, because you had all
coaches, announcers, anything.
you had all ex-football players from the 70s and 80s that were in there.
Absolutely. So when NBC went and redid it in 2008, they didn't want anything to do with us. They didn't want us to come in as a coach. They didn't want to come in as an announcer. They wanted their own show, period, without the originals, which was the biggest mistake they ever made. Right. I mean, 90210, all these different shows, the very nostalgic shows, even that 70s show, they bring back the original cast, even if it's for a cameo appearance.
That's right.
Because everybody goes, oh my God, I remember them. Okay, if they would have done that with the Gladiators in 2008 when NBC rebooted it, maybe it would have done better.
Sure. But listen, I would have watched because I want to see what Ice looks like. I want to see what Gemini looks like. I want to see what Nitro looks like. I want to see what they're doing. I want to hear about what their lives were, because this was something that, I mean, I was older back then, but still it was interesting. It was fun to watch everybody.
Exactly.
I want to see what everybody's doing and having segments on what's going on. Like, all right, here's Ice and this is what she looked like. And she's still working out and she's still, and so forth and so on. Which we were talking a little bit about beforehand with peptides and things of that nature. So, maybe we'll get into that.
We could totally get into that. It's like, especially when it comes into the looks of what have you done over the years.
Okay, so let's get into it. So tell me, what is it with these peptides? Because peptides are all the rage. And
I mean, yes, they're all the rage. And yet at the same time, so why peptides? First of all, peptides, why anti-aging, why all of this? I am not one of the females that goes, yeah, I'm just going to grow old. I'm not going to let my hair grow gray. I'm not going to let my wrinkles come in. I'm going to do everything I can to postpone this aging process. It's like, so over the years, what have I done? First of all, people are like, oh my God, how do you look the way you look? I mean, I'm 60. And I know a lot of women that from my high school reunion that are my age, they look 60 to 70, some of them, because they have this theory of, I'm just going to grow old. I'm like, no, screw that. I'm not going to grow old. So yes, let's get into, I mean, eating well, working out, drinking, but you have to help it along somehow, some way. You know better than I do. Your own growth hormone starts dying after you hit 30.
Boom, goes.
What does growth hormone do to us? Everything. It keeps us youthful, our skin, our collagen, you know, the wrinkle, your texture,
The radiance that you have.
the muscle tone.
Not only that, but your biochemistry and your physiology is regulated, because all of that stuff, testosterone, helps out with all of that stuff.
100%.
You
And
want to go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, you're the doctor, you go.
So all of that helps out. You know, I'm 61. So you're 63. I was 62, probably born.
Yeah, I was
And
63 born.
right. And so we have a little something at the office. You know, we have a new employee. Guess Dr. Dan's age, because nobody thinks I'm 61 years old. They're all guessing 40, except for the little snow on the top of the head. You know, they're all thinking, but I'm with you. I'm fighting this every step of the way.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting it because after my heart attack at a very young age, I went through a whole thing where you just lose hope. You don't feel good about yourself. And then I started to turn it around. And now I realize that I'm older. I want to see how far I can take this.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way, Lori?
I want to feel the way I did when I was 30.
Yeah.
And I don't want to grow old. And to me, it's like the number 60 is the weirdest thing in the world for me, because when I look in the mirror, I know I don't look 60. I don't feel 60. I can out train people. I still am very athletic. I'm constantly go, 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 go. I love this. My girlfriend's mother is probably 15 to 17 years older than I am. She looks 30 years older than me, you know, and it's mind blowing.
It's mind blowing on how that happens.
And it's just like, wow, you know, but then again, you got to look at the mentality. Okay. My mom's mentality when she was raising us, she was into exercise, health food. So she raised us that way. We get to eat sugary cereals and stuff. So my mom exercised all the way. I mean, she was constantly exercising. She has scoliosis. And so after a while, her back was bothering her so bad that it was hard for her to exercise. And even today, she still has a nice little physique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
She's 82 and she's still concerned about her body and her weight. So that's how I was raised as well. So when I found out, you know, about my hormone levels, when I started around 42-ish, I started kind of not feeling, you know, like I did when I was 30. So I went to the hormone doctor and she has me on, you know, she had me on a little estrogen, testosterone, progesterone to balance out my hormones. And she goes, okay, your body internally literally is like, you're still 25 to 30. I'm like, yes, you know? So as time went on, I tried to do a few peptides here and there and little injectables. And I wasn't into it a lot at that point in time because I was still kind of feeling like I didn't need it. But just in the last year, I seriously started looking at the peptides and I started taking, like I told you before, the sublingual Simorlin, which helps raise your own HGH level. And she goes, let's try it for a month and let's take your levels and see where they're at. And so we did. And sure enough, man, boom, it kicked up my HGH levels. And I was like, yes. I started taking another peptide. I didn't know that was out there, but it was awesome. Internally helps your own collagen. And that's another peptide, CJK, I believe, something like CU, has a little copper in it. But yes, all these different things, Dan, that I'm doing because of the fact that a lot of women, it's like they go through the menopause. They go, I went through menopause and I gained weight and I'm kind of fuzzy headed. I don't have any sex drive anymore. And so it's like, you don't have to go through this, you know, and that's what I don't understand with a lot of women. They go, well, it's very dangerous. You know, it's dangerous. Hormones are dangerous. And somehow somebody convinced everybody that if you take hormones, you're going to get cancer. And so I went to my OBGYN and I said, hey, what's this all about the hormone, taking hormones and cancer? He goes, the only way that that's going to happen is if your hormones are so out of balance as you're taking your hormone, as long as they're balanced, you're good. So it's like, beautiful. Thank you for that. I didn't have hot flashes. I didn't gain weight. My muscles stayed. My sex drive is still like I'm 30. And it's just like, okay, if I can sustain this going forward, I will as long as I can.
Right.
Women don't know that they don't have to go through that menopause. You go through it, but you don't have to have all the symptoms.
I have a friend of mine, Dr. Anna Quebeca, and she is the girlfriend doctor. She's a good friend of mine. And she does whole hormone optimization. And her tagline is something along the lines of, menopause is mandatory. Suffering is not. Suffering is optional when it comes to this.
I love
and
that.
we can be 60 and 61 years old and not have the effects of being. I have a picture of my father to my right over here, and he's 60. And let me tell you something, he looks like he's 80 at that time. And little did he know, he only had 11 years left on this earth when he had that picture taken with my mother. And so, I have a heart IQ program, and I take those with heart disease, and I take them with heart attacks, post-heart attacks, give them hope. You don't have to be a ticking time bomb, Lori. And out of this came this de-aging type of a program. And they want more, those that are in their 50s and 60s, especially those early 60s. They want more. We want more out of life. We don't want to have no sex drive. We don't want to be able to get up in the morning and not have energy. I have a 15-year-old, right? I have a 15-year-old, right? And I want to be able to live my life. Working out is important. Gaining muscle mass at this age is important. And I'm going to give a shout out to another special friend of mine, Dr. Cindy, where we're doing a half marathon in August. There's this whole training thing that's going on. And her and I are going through a program starting next week where we're going to do hormone optimization with also supplements and eating right and so forth. So for everybody listening, and I think this is important, you're looking at ice, athlete. I did athletics, but not at this level, right? I mean, I wasn't on TV. I'm on a podcast, but I'm not. But you don't have to lay down and it's done at that point, right?
So listen to this, Dan. When I was at my OBGYN and I told him about my hormone therapy that I'm taking, and I asked him something, and I don't know what the question was, but he came back to me and he said, the government would rather have women on antidepressants than bioidentical hormones. And I looked at him and I go, seriously? He goes, seriously. Then I realized when I was going through one of my hormone doctors that I got rid of, she was like, well, I got to cut back your testosterone because of the fact that the government's trying to get rid of it for women and they don't think it's a good thing. Why is that? Why would anybody want to take that away from women? And here's the other thing that's really sucky is that, and I'm going to go into this for a second, Dan, and then we can move on. And that is, my insurance won't pay for my hormones. Why not? But yet, if I decide to do a sex change, the government's all over it and they'll pay for everything. But the government won't let our insurance pay for hormones for women or men to make them feel good and to keep them balanced where they should be. To me, that's BS, and I'm not for it. And it's just, that's annoying.
So this is interesting. This is what we say in the office, Lori, is that when somebody comes in and they want to do a program, because these programs are tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, we're changing lives, right? The Heart IQ program is $9,997. And we're taking people, and it's 100 pounds that they're losing. I mean, we're changing their lives, right? We're making positive lifestyle changes, and we're just changing the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever you want to say,
Making him be a better human being.
Right. And so the de-aging, we don't even have a name for it yet. The de-aging process, right, with what we're doing with the supplements and the diet, came out of this because now there's a ton of people who want more out of their life.
Right.
You know, I want to be 115 years old and I want to be able to do a podcast with you, and we're just sitting here and we're talking just the way that we are now, right? And hey, listen, let's go hit the gym and let's do a chest workout or something like that. And we don't look much different than we do today, right? There's no reason why we cannot be like that. And so what we say in functional medicine is that we want you to take personal responsibility for your health. That's where it's at today. Mm-hmm. Taking personal responsibility, because taking that personal responsibility, you have skin in the game.
Right.
You've already, you've paid your hard-earned dollars in order to do this, and you want to be able to get benefit from it. So guess what? You're going to follow it, and you're going to follow what we say a lot more than what anybody else is going to give you, right? Because if you pay a couple $100 for something, you're not going to follow. But if you pay something like 10,000, boy, I understand what you're doing, and let's go, let's rock and roll, and let's do this.
Okay, so let me ask you this: out of $10,000, does insurance pay for any of it? Nothing.
No.
Why?
No.
Why?
You know what? I've been practicing for 33 years. Lori, I've been practicing for 33 years. I don't even ask the question anymore. Because
well, the only reason I ask it now is because let me be politically correct here. The only reason I ask it now, and I'm gonna try to say this without any attitude or anything.
Go ahead. You can have attitude.
The only reason I say that now is because of this whole transgender huge thing that's being rolled out, and that is, I have a friend that's dating a transgender, mm-hmm. and she or he is switching companies because he's searching for companies that will pay for his entire transition. And I'm sorry, but that pisses me off when I know that I try to go get my hormones and everything like that paid for by the government, by my insurance that I pay for, and they won't touch it. But again, they will pay for everything, all your hormones, everything, if you just decide, oh, I'm the wrong sex. So
that's why we're looking for personal responsibility, because the way that, and we're gonna look at,
and it's got to be personal across the board.
Right. And I'm in agreement with that, because I think, and we're just starting this, we're just looking at this, because in 5 years, I want to have enough data to sit there and say, you've paid X amount of money for this, but yet you don't have to worry about heart disease, or you don't have to worry about whatever it is.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
I totally get you. I totally understand that. And it's funny because my last hormone doctor, so my total cholesterol is high, and my total cholesterol is high because my good cholesterol is high. Okay. Mm-hmm. So every time I would go in and do blood work, she'd be like, well, this could be heart disease. Because there was one point in time my cholesterol to me, it was a little high, and it was like 240. And she goes, this is probably hereditary and it's heart disease. And I looked at her and I went, no, it's not. And she goes, well, what do you mean? I go, watch me. I'm going to drop my total cholesterol 30 points in 3 months. She goes, oh, it's impossible. You can't do that. I go, watch me.
I hate when they say that.
Yeah, exactly. Test me. So basically what I did is I knew exactly what I needed to do. I quit all my sugar. I started doing more cardio, training more. I cleaned up my diet. I actually started drinking more water. I became responsible for what went into my body. And within 3 months, Dan, 3 months, 30 points, I dropped my cholesterol like that. And see, that's the point to where a lot of people were like, just give me a pill. I'm like, I don't want anything like that in my body. I know what to do, but I'm the one who has the discipline to do it.
Let me, and this is important for our listeners. See, we have Ice on, and we were talking about American Gladiators, then we switched. We always go to prevention, Lori, just to let you know. So after we found out what my blood work was, because you're saying 240, I'm like, I think mine was 600. My cholesterol, it was, I mean, the LDLs were just outrageous. The triglycerides were 1,227. And I was just like, no, this is not going to get me. And then I became motivated to get back into the training and change my lifestyle. Forget about training, change my lifestyle.
You have to change the lifestyle.
Right. And so for me, changing that lifestyle was the pivotal point where I decided I wanted to do this as my career. And it's that personal responsibility, because I was taking a ton of medications. Boy, that was tough.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, those side effects, Lori.
Yeah.
It was bad. And I said, I need something more, and I need something better. Now, listen, we're almost up at the hour. I feel incomplete in this converation.
I do too. We're going to have to come back on this. We're
going to have to come back. I think I have to come on yours to rant.
All right. So let me tell your listeners real quick. Chilling with Ice is my podcast, and Chilling with Ice came out of, real quick here, is when I was doing all my TikTok videos and everything, which is, I love that you found that about my TikTok. I got a lot of, responses of, wow, I didn't know you were funny. Wow, I didn't know this about you. Wow, I didn't know that about you. And I was like, wow, a lot of people don't know about who we are as people versus Ice or Nitro or Zap. So I decided to do a podcast. My first season is all with the Gladiators. And I think I have like 1 or 2 left. And then I'm moving on to, fascinating people as far as like, my hormone doctor, I want you on. But, seriously, Chilling with Ice. And so it's like getting to know all the Gladiators more in depth, and we have these type of conversations, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, Chilling with Ice, it's on my YouTube.
It'll be in the show notes. So we recommend everybody to start chilling with Ice. When it comes to this, so.
But yes, our conversation here today, we've got to do this again, because I know we've veered off on a lot of things, but this was so interesting to me. And I love having these conversations, because a lot of more people need to know about these things, and they just don't.
They don't. So we will have Ice back on. Thank you for reaching out, because this has been a great conversation. I'm happy.
I loved it, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. So listen, Chilling with Ice. What's the is there a is it on Spotify? Is it on all the Apple? Where is it?
It's on all platforms where you listen to your podcast. And then I also have my YouTube as far as video. So that's Chilling with Ice on my YouTube channel. And let's see where else. I have a Patreon account, because my podcast is self-funded. So my Patreon is Chilling with Ice. Patreon.com, Chilling with Ice.
We'll make sure that we have all of this into the show notes, because we're releasing this podcast. Usually takes a month, but I think we're going to have to rock it next week or the week after.
Love that.
Yeah.
And our documentary for Netflix is coming out June 28th.
June 28th. We'll make sure that's into the that's in the show notes. So, and
definitely contact, if you want to do another podcast after that documentary is over, that would be fun as well. So we can talk a little bit more about Gladiators.
It sounds like we got multiple casts going.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
It seems we got some multiple things going on. So I think that would be good.
When we start talking anti-aging and hormones, as you know, we could talk for hours on that.
That's right. That's right. And if we can motivate, educate, and inspire those in their 50s and 60s to change their lifestyle, that would be a great and significant thing. So
absolutely.
It would be good. So Lori, thank you very much. Honor and pleasure to meet you here.
Awesome.
And want to thank everybody for listening in today. Live your best life, chilling with ice. Look at the show notes. We'll have everything there. Want to thank everybody for listening, and please share this with family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, anybody who wants to know anything about ice from American Gladiators. Lori, hold on. We're going to talk a few seconds afterwards. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.